Tonight, a giant leap forward for SpaceX. The company launches and lands a rocket booster, catching it in the air.
This was the most exciting live event since the Apollo moon landing.
The promise and the risks of going where no one has gone before. In Florida, long lines and short tempers.
The bottom line is it's screwed up and people need to come together.
Hundreds of thousands of people are still without power and gas is running low. Making history behind the bench.
I put my skates on the same way as everybody else. Me being in this position is potentially more new to the guys than it is for me.
From playing boys hockey as a child to NHL coach, how Jessica Campbell hopes to inspire young girls and boys in our Sunday interview.
From CBC News, this is The National.
Thanks for joining us. Ian is away. I'm Neil Köksal. SpaceX is marking a victory tonight. The company has astounded engineers and experts by successfully landing a rocket booster for reuse. That feat is raising questions, though, about the ambitions and limits of commercial space travel. The company launching Starship, its heaviest rocket into space, then bringing its large and expensive booster down to Earth, intact, so it can be used again. It's been done with SpaceX's smaller rockets, but the company's CEO is hoping Starship could travel all the way to Mars. Vanessa Lee explains.
All eyes were on Boca Chica, Texas.
We have liftoff.
As the Starship rocket blasted off at sunrise. On its return to Earth, SpaceX achieved something never done before with their heaviest rocket.
This is absolutely insane.
Getting its booster to land not in the ocean, but instead guiding it back to the same launch pad into a pair of giant mechanical arms, what's known as a chopsticks maneuver. No one was on board, but the flight is crucial to the company's goal of making space travel more cost-effective through reusable technology.
This was the most exciting live event since the Apollo moon landings. I mean, to see this event live it blew me away to watch it.
The 21-story Super Heavy booster with 33 engines returned to land nearly 7 minutes after launch.
To be able to slow down a piece this big, put it back where it launched from, is pretty significant. It's an advancement in technology.
SpaceX has grown to dominate the space launch business.
It's more of an advantage almost to have a private company in that they're taking more risk.
His name is Elon Musk.
But for some, that dominance poses another risk, the politicization of space exploration. SpaceX founder Elon Musk routinely promotes far-right views on his social media platform and financially backs U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump.
Elon Musk is very opinionated and obviously is dabbling in politics as much as anything else today. SpaceX is delivering good engineering, good hardware, and is driving the space frontier. Personally, I like to keep those two things separate.
This is a day for the engineering history books.
The most powerful rocket ever built, which could one day send people and supplies to the moon and beyond. Vanessa Lee, CBC News, Montreal.
In Florida tonight, hundreds of thousands of people are still in the dark in the wake of Hurricane Milton. And there is another problem. They are running out of gas. As Aaron Collins shows us from one of the hardest hit areas, help from Washington is on the way.
Days after Hurricane Milton blew through, Joe Biden touched down in Florida. The president arriving with cash to beef up the state's power grid.
This funding will not only restore power, but will make the region's power system stronger and more capable and reduce the frequency and duration of power outages.
A pressing need, more than 1 million people still without power here, stalling efforts to pick up the pieces of their lives.
We haven't had power since before the storm, and it's cooler outside than it is inside.
50,000 workers from around the U.S. and as far away as Canada working to get the lights back on. Fuel, another pressing concern for Floridians. Many stations bone dry. Long lines for those that still have gas. Police directing traffic.
All the way at the end. First pump.
The fuel shortage here more than an inconvenience for some.
Trying to service customers and can't get fuel. That's the way life is today. We do what we can.
On the other side of the state, people are cleaning up after the tornadoes that came in Milton's wake.
It was like a train coming over my roof.
At this home, a near miss. Just meters away, a hit. Over on the other side of the fence there, loss of life, right?
Yes, sadly, yes, very sad. And I look at that and I just can't fathom being in a house that has collapsed.
At least 6 people died in that neighboring community, enough to make someone think twice about sticking around.
I don't think I'll buy a house and be here permanently. I want to be able to pick up and go.
Well, that fear replaced by frustration at this community center, set up to help impacted Floridians get the help they need to rebuild.
I'm telling you, it's broken. Our federal, state, and local levels, they're broken.
Well, there is much to fix here in Florida, this state reeling from a devastating hurricane season that isn't over yet.
And Neil, remember, there's 6 to 8 more weeks in this hurricane season.
Aaron, you're clearly seeing all that Milton has done there firsthand. Is there any sense at this early stage of just how much damage was done?
Yeah, the early estimates, and they are early, are at least $50 billion. That's billion dollars worth of damage just from Milton, and that's just one of 3 hurricanes that's touched down. You can imagine those costs could add up quickly. You can see Tropicana Field in behind me. Imagine how much it would cost just to put a new roof on that stadium.
Aaron Collins in St. Petersburg, Florida tonight. Thank you, Aaron.
You bet.
Here in Canada, the federal Liberals have a new campaign director. That announcement comes as pressure within the party builds for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to step aside. On Friday, we told you about a document that's being circulated by some Liberal MPs in Ottawa. It has a growing number of signatures, and it's calling for a leadership change. Those efforts intensified while Trudeau and key members of his team were overseas for an international summit. Chief Political Correspondent Rosemary Barton is in Ottawa. Rosemary, what more have you been able to learn since this news first broke on Friday?
Listen, Neil, there's been little official reaction or response, though, as the Prime Minister was returning to Canada late Friday. His Trade Minister, Mary Ang, who was traveling with him, was sent out to speak to reporters on the tarmac and said she was disappointed to hear these reports and that Canadians want the government focused on what matters to them. The document in question has apparently been signed by as many as 20 MPs. It's not been made public, and none of the MPs who signed it have gone on the record. And that's at least part of why the Prime Minister's office has not said more publicly and is not saying much privately either, Neil. As far as caucus goes, we've been told a couple of MPs sent out emails telling people to stop this and stop sharing information with reporters and pointing to some of the good things the Prime Minister has done. But we also know that the group behind the document are still trying to get others to sign it, to increase pressure on the Prime Minister and make him reflect on whether he is the man to lead the party into the next election.
There was another development, as you well know. The Liberal Party announced a new campaign director. What should we make of that?
Andrew Bevan has been named the campaign director. He's currently Chief of Staff to Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, previously served as Chief of Staff to Kathleen Wynne. But remember, this job has been empty for the past month since Jeremy Broadhurst stepped down. And with an election possible sooner rather than later, that has been really worrying for many Liberals. So this might be reassuring to some of them, and certainly the timing is not a coincidence here, Neil. But the MPs who are behind this move are looking at those 2 recent by-election losses, no improvement in the polls, see no real concrete changes, and seem to believe that the only thing that will improve Liberal fortunes is for Justin Trudeau to go and to find a new leader.
Thanks for this, Rosie.
You're welcome.
A Las Vegas man is out on bail tonight after being arrested outside a Donald Trump rally with loaded guns.
If you're asking me right now, I probably did have deputies that prevented the 3rd assassination attempt.
Police say last night they found a shotgun, a handgun, and ammunition inside an unregistered vehicle with fake license plates. The suspect also allegedly had a number of fake passports. Trump survived an assassination attempt in July at a rally in Pennsylvania. Last month, another man was charged with trying to shoot him at a golf course. There is growing frustration tonight in Jasper, Alberta. 3 months after a wildfire ravaged the town, there's a housing shortage. That means workers, residents, and tourists are all clamoring for the same spaces. And as Sam Sampson reports, with winter approaching, there is a new urgency.
Mere steps separate this trailer and this house from devastation.
And it survived. As you see, was pretty close.
Svetoslav Rudd and his wife made this camper their temporary home while workers repair their rental house. Some who did the same are back home already, but trailers have to come off the street soon.
They already broadcasting that should be snow with the rain, like in the next week.
Housing has been a struggle since July's wildfire destroyed a third of the town. Jasper was already short 600 housing units before the fire. Now it's more like 1,400. Hotels are trying to strike a balance ahead of ski season, hoping to divide the rooms equally between residents, workers here for the rebuild, and tourists.
It feels a lot like COVID, where you're kind of adapting to the situation moment by moment.
Essential workers who lost their homes were given first dibs. Many are put up in local hotel rooms, mostly funded by the province. That includes jobs in healthcare, government, education, and utilities. Everyone else is on their own for now.
I also feel that I'm an integral part of this community.
Denise Millette and Chuck Cantley work and volunteer in Jasper. They cobbled together house-sitting gigs to stay close to their destroyed property this winter, with no help, they say, from officials.
It was kind of being put out there by all levels of government that there would be some kind of interim housing for everybody. Now, because we're deemed not essential, we are fending for ourselves.
There is housing coming, but the first round is already spoken for. This is one of 3 sites where interim housing will go in Jasper. Now take a look, they're already starting work to put in utilities. The hope is that they can house essential workers before December.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to rely on residents to continue to be innovative, to continue to find solutions that work for them.
A push for patience as everyone tackles this monstrous cleanup. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Jasper, Alberta.
In the Middle East tonight, the United Nations is warning Israel that attacks on its peacekeepers in Lebanon are potential war crimes, as the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah claims more lives. Hezbollah launched several strikes on Israel. One drone attack, killing 4 soldiers at an army base and injuring more than 60 others, according to medics. Medics in Lebanon say Israel has killed dozens of people this weekend in strikes on neighborhoods in and around Beirut and on the country's south. As Israel advances on the ground, that country's prime minister issued a warning to the UN peacekeeping mission in Lebanon known as UNIFIL.
Get the UNIFIL forces out of harm's way. It should be done right now, immediately.
UNIFIL says Israeli tanks forced their way into one of its positions. That's the 4th incident in 4 days, and that's left 5 peacekeepers injured and has sparked condemnation from the UN.
We have been attacked several times.
UNIFIL was set up decades ago to monitor and preserve the peace along Lebanon's border with Israel, but attacks on the mission since have killed hundreds of people. Both Israel and Hezbollah accuse it of protecting the other side.
A military base of Hezbollah very close to the UN.
This time, Israel alleges UNIFIL allowed Hezbollah to operate under its nose.
We are here because the Security Council asked us to be here.
It has mostly withdrawn to its bases now, but for the time being, UNIFIL says it is staying. Some in Toronto's Jewish community are speaking out, warning that a weekend shooting at a girls' school is just the latest sign of rising anti-Semitism.
And it includes terror-glorifying hate rallies on the streets of our cities. This is the reality of Jewish life in Canada right now.
Shots were fired around 4 in the morning on Saturday during Yom Kippur, the holiest day in Judaism. Toronto police say no one was in the school during the attack. The hate crimes unit is investigating now. That same school was the target of a similar shooting in May. A woman in Ottawa is speaking out tonight about how her husband was treated in a New Brunswick ER. Her husband was in serious pain and later died. She says their concerns were not taken seriously. Kayla Hounsell now on her call for change in the middle of a provincial election.
Ottawa residents Anne McCool and her husband Danny were drawn to the Maritimes.
I'll never not love the Maritimes, but it's certainly been colored by my experience in Moncton.
They were on the second day of vacation on a stopover in Sackville. Danny was having a lot of abdominal pain, but it was after operating hours at the ER there. McCool called 911. Paramedics brought her husband here to the Moncton hospital, around 50 kilometers away.
He was getting sicker and sicker.
McCool says her husband was largely ignored for hours in the ER. He died the next day after an infection in his intestines.
They just made a decision that, you know, this guy has food poisoning. Why is she bothering us?
In a statement, the president and CEO of the health authority said, "I spoke with the family of the deceased to offer a sincere apology on behalf of our organization for the lack of communication and compassion they experienced." Healthcare is a major issue in the current New Brunswick election campaign. McCool has reached out to all of the main parties to share her experience here at the Moncton Hospital and urge them to use it to come up with solutions.
Some of the poll pledges concern healthcare.
This political scientist is tracking the party promises.
The Green Party originally was a party whose main mission was the defense of the environment. Now its number one priority is healthcare.
This should not have happened. In 2022, 3 people died in New Brunswick ER waiting rooms.
I spend a lot of time in the emergency department when I'm on calls.
This surgeon is calling on the election winners to spend 48 hours in an ER.
New Brunswickers and Canadians are frustrated, and when they don't have access to the system via family doctor or nurse practitioner, you're going to see overcrowded emergency rooms.
McCool supports his challenge.
If it's a crisis in New Brunswick, it's becoming a crisis everywhere.
She is urging Canadians to advocate for their loved ones if they're not getting the care they need. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Moncton.
Canadian comedian and broadcaster Mike Bullard has died. He hosted 2 late-night shows after working as a stand-up comic for years. This is what happened when he spotted a CBC broadcaster in his audience.
Are you for real? Yes. You're the weatherman in Newfoundland? What do? Just go in and record the word fog once and then run it all year?
Bullard won 2 Gemini Awards for open mic on CTV and later hosted a radio show.
A crowd work. Crowd work was his specialty, and he was probably the best in the country.
Bullard lost that radio show after being accused of harassing his ex-girlfriend with phone calls. He later pleaded guilty. His family says he was found dead at a residence where he was staying. Mike Bullard was 67. Young people make up the biggest voting bloc in British Columbia right now, and a lot of them are looking for change.
Why would you work in a place where you can make this much and the cost is this much?
We'll tell you why more people in that demographic are now tilting toward the right. Plus,
Live from New York, it's
Saturday Night Live celebrates 50 years.
And the drama lock.
The show's ties to Canada and how it is still trying to reach new viewers. And Jessica Campbell opens up about making NHL history.
It's an unbelievable feeling being behind it all now.
We're back in 2.
Let's get her here, everybody. We have seen it.
And you are looking at the new world record holder in the women's marathon. Kenya's Ruth Chepngetich ran the Chicago Marathon in just 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 56 seconds. That is nearly 2 minutes faster than the previous record. Younger voters could have a big impact on the BC election that is just 6 days away now, but their strength in numbers will only count if they bother to fill out a ballot. Yvette Brend shows us what might drive them to have their say.
Less than a week from Election Day and the biggest voting bloc, young people have the potential to turn BC politics on its head. The leaders are taking notice.
People are thinking about leaving this province. 1 in 2 youth can't see a future by staying in British Columbia.
Conservative leader John Rustad appealing to the frustration among young people, and his message resonated with some.
It's like that stat that Russell mentioned, like 1 of 2 youth was like thinking of getting the hell out of here.
Is that you?
Because, yeah, I'd say it's a thought that's come to my mind. So definitely it's like, why would you work in a place where you can make this much and the cost is this much?
Rising costs, especially related to housing, are a major factor, says this pollster.
It's affordability. They can't afford to pay the rent. So, you know, the 28-year-olds are living in their parents' basements because they can't afford a place. Their wages don't support that.
And while young people have historically voted more progressively, he says in this tight race, more than a third of people aged 18 to 35 are leaning to the right.
There just seems to be a movement afoot across the country and in BC towards the right. And that trend's been entrenched for a couple of years now.
Many feel failed by current leaders.
Younger generations in the past, you know, when they're in university or at that stage of life formation, there'd always been a greater sense of hope.
We've had the NDP in government for a while, and perhaps they're not seeing the change that they expected.
This 19-year-old political science student says there's a hunger for change, but options are limited.
Because I feel like now there's just like two choices. It's very polarized.
Pollsters stress to swing this election, young voters would need to turn out in larger numbers than usual. Yvette Brenn, CBC News, Vancouver.
Saturday Night Live is about to mark 50 years on the air.
It's always held this sort of edgy late night appeal.
What is the secret to the show's staying power? Plus, Jessica Campbell on her road to the NHL.
The representation can be there now, and not just for young girls.
How she hopes her historic move will help future generations. And the role of misinformation in the U.S. election.
She's just led the worst rescue operation in history.
How false claims could sway voters this time. The National breaks down the story shaping our world next.
Please welcome Vince Carter.
Former Toronto Raptor and superstar player Vince Carter is officially in the Basketball Hall of Fame now. Carter played an NBA record 22 seasons and was the only player to suit up in 4 decades. Yes, we checked. He spent 6.5 seasons with the Raptors, becoming an all-star and slam dunk champion. Saturday Night Live is now in its 50th season, managing to stay on the air, trying to stay relevant, and as Eli Glasner shows us, now attempting to navigate a particularly divisive U.S. election campaign.
Live from New York, it's Saturday Night!
Saturday Night Live isn't just a show, it's an institution going live every week with a mix of music and sketch. This author says SNL's staying power is twofold.
So it's always held this sort of edgy late night appeal because of its time slot. And the very nature of its sort of cyclical turnover in cast members means that it's constantly refreshed.
And now Canadian director Jason Reitman is putting the chaotic story of SNL's first show on the big screen.
We're just not ready. Doesn't matter that we're ready, it matters that it's 11:30. That's when we go on.
Well, in 1975, I think SNL represented Woodstock for television. SNL was the moment that young people ripped television out of the hands of the olders.
Good evening, I'm Lorne Michaels.
All thanks to Lorne Michaels, the Canadian producer who started at CBC and in fact tried to pitch SNL here first.
I'd done a pilot for the CBC in 1972, in 71, and they decided not to put it on. And most of it was in the shape of what was to be Saturday Night Live.
7 minutes. From the beginning, politics, or at least parodies, has been part of the show. But on the cusp of a divisive election, can SNL meet the moment?
All summer, America was on fire, and every week everyone was like, if only SNL was on the air, they would really have something to say about it. And the first episode went by and it barely had any political commentary.
And the dramala. And the tramala. And go relax in our pajamas.
Because the broadcast television model in the United States and in North America is dying, there's an incentive to play closer to the middle and try to appeal to as many people as possible.
As the Saturday night tradition fights to stay in the cultural conversation. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
It's now time to dig a bit deeper into some of the other stories shaping our world.
making sure everybody's got a good idea where they line up.
History on the ice this week when the Seattle Kraken's Jessica Campbell became the NHL's first female bench coach.
I've been able to kind of silence the challenges and the obstacles because I've just kept my focus so narrow.
As a player, Campbell helped Canada win silver at the World Championships, then became the first woman to coach an AHL team. Now, it's the National League. Jessica Campbell spoke with Ian Hanemansing about her path to hockey's pinnacle.
Is right behind them, and they get a chance. Dunn motors in, and a save, rebound, score!
The NHL's the greatest hockey league in the world, and I've heard players talk about that moment where they pulled on the uniform and stepped on the ice for the first time. You've now had that moment where you stood behind the bench in an exhibition game for the first time. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, just it's a flood of emotions. You know, I think as a young kid, I grew up dreaming of playing in the NHL. That sounds pretty crazy to say, but that's what was out there for us to see, and I played boys hockey. So to know that despite the pathway that I had as a young female athlete and hockey player, and to be here now in this position, I'm just humbled, I'm grateful, and it's an unbelievable feeling being behind it all now.
You know the thing that struck me the most watching the practice, and it sounds almost odd to say it out loud, is that you were just a coach out there. You know, the way the players interacted with you, the way that you ran the drills, like there wasn't a moment where I was watching that where it seemed odd at all.
I mean, I think it's kind of the point. I put my skates on the same way as everybody else and approach my work the same way. And I know that this still appears new and different, and me being in this position is potentially more new to the guys than it is for me. Like I see them as hockey players, and it doesn't matter if I'm working with Team Canada national women's team player or an NHLer, like the work, the focus is on them and how to help them. And so how I go about my work and how I go about my communication with them, it's got the whistle, you got the board, you got the video, and you got the drills. And so it's really exciting. I think that, you know, the experiences that I've had, especially in my time coaching as a power skating coach, getting to kind of create my own style, communication style, come through with on my own path to then get to apply that to the American Hockey League and really tighten that up to then bring it here to Seattle. I think it's just an organic process, and it's probably what you're witnessing.
Speaking of video, we have video from 2006. My colleague Briar Stewart did a story, as you know, when you were a young player coached by your mom. So I just want to play this for you and get you to react to it.
My sister's in this too.
Yeah.
The Prairie Fire definitely have something to sing about. They're groundbreakers, doing what their coach Monique Campbell could only dream of when she was their age.
Let's win our battles tonight.
For the first time, Saskatchewan has a midget AAA league for girls. It's another sign of just how much women's hockey has grown.
This league is going to give the girls something to strive for and to inspire, to be inspired to.
Monique's two daughters grew up playing on boys' teams, and they're thrilled to show off their stuff in this league.
Guys hockey's so fast and rough, and girls is just slow, and but I think it's getting a lot better since the midget AAA league has started.
As her team and the league take flight, Monique believes the next generation of girls will be inspired to pick up a hockey stick. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Melville.
You know, it's when you see that or when I watch that, it's like you just realize how far we've come. And that was my first all-girls team, and I was 16 years old. So like up until then, I played with the boys. And it's funny because full circle, like my mom was our coach, but she was also my first minor hockey boys coach. And I think that, you know, seeing this footage, it's like, it's so clear to me that one, she's been a role model for me and modeled, you know, the coach in me and the leadership style that I definitely try to aspire to. But she showed up at such a young age when I was 5 years old, and the only girl in the locker room with the boys, and was opening up the gate and doing the same thing. And maybe that's why I'm here now doing what I'm doing. It also makes me think of my other minor league hockey coach, who I'll bring up, Leo Parker. He was the first coach I had at a competitive AA boys level, and there was no different rules for me, and there shouldn't have been. And I learned at such a young age, I think, again, in a naive way, planted a seed in me that I could do anything the boys were doing and treated me accordingly. And that showed up in so many ways how he coached me. And he was hard on me, but he was hard on everyone. And so those moments and that message that he instilled in me in such a young age, I think inspired me to just keep chasing the dream. And even if I couldn't see it at the time, like I had aspirations in life and in this sport, especially because of just the way I think I was shaped as such a young kid with great coaches.
So you had great coaches, you have a great family, you've had people who have supported you all along the way. But I mean, traditionally, hockey can be very conservative too, and there's examples of that, but I think of the first wave of European players who came to the NHL, and I found out years later, like how rough the reception was for them. I mean, have there been obstacles for you along the way?
Yeah, I think, you know, I've faced obstacles, but it hasn't really been an issue for me. I think the biggest challenges are the ones that we often create for ourselves. And I've just always kept my focus, you know, specifically on the coaching side. I've kept my focus on just being the best coach that I can be every day and preparing myself to bring my strengths to the table and to have an organized plan and to create meaningful work and support for the players that I'm working with. And so I think I've been able to kind of silence the challenges and the obstacles because I've just kept my focus so narrow on the task at hand. And, you know, I think that's kept me in a good mental space, because I definitely know that, you know, you don't have to go too far into social media and the comments sections to find that there are people that definitely don't understand what I'm doing now and or support it. And so though it looks different and it for others might feel different in the game now, I think I am able to actually embrace what I'm doing as a true positive thing.
Going back to that video for a moment with your mom and your sister on the team, as I say, you're from a hockey family, and that's been really important to you. I just want to ask you about the impact of your brother Josh.
Yeah, Josh, he's with me more than ever now. I think he was the driving force for me as a player, and obviously I was so young, 10 years old when he passed away, but he was my oldest brother. And you know, family vacations were going to Calgary and driving 10 hours to go watch him play, because he was the oldest and playing at the most competitive level. And so just he unlocked really the dream. And I know that the gift that I have now in front of me and the privilege of the work and the role and getting to be here and experience not only my dream but live out his dream of playing in the NHL and now me working in the NHL, it's for him and it's for our family. We get to all relish in it and get emotional thinking about how he's impacted me and how our family is now able to celebrate this and know he's watching over it all.
A lot of people are going to be watching you this year. A lot of people are going to be cheering you on. And one of the really interesting things I've heard you say in other interviews is that you know the impact you're going to have, not just on little girls, but little boys as well. Tell me about that.
Yeah, you know, so special for me to be in this position, especially like I think about Seattle as a new hockey market, a big sports city, but hockey is still a pretty new sport to this landscape, and I'm able to kind of take myself out of the glass bottle and look at it from the fans' perspective or the community's perspective. There's, you know, not just young girls, but there's young boys that are going to witness their first hockey game, and they're not going to see or know anything different than a man can do it, a woman can do it. And that means a lot to me because, again, it brings me back to my childhood. Had I seen it, I might have believed in it. Even through college when I was studying at Cornell and studying communications, I still didn't know that I could dream of becoming an NHL coach or coaching at the highest level. And I kind of had to pursue my own passion to then come up with the idea that, you know what, maybe if I get to this player, then this player, and maybe this can come into my path. But I am so proud to know that the work that I'm doing, the work, you know, the representation can be there now, and not just for young girls to see that they can believe in anything they want to believe in, and for young boys to also know and see the same thing.
It was great watching you on the ice today, and fantastic to finally get to sit down and speak with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Now we should say Campbell did not get the results she wanted in her first NHL game. The Seattle Kraken lost that season opener to the St. Louis Blues, but 4 days later, Campbell secured her first NHL win by beating the Calgary Flames. From disaster relief to immigration, the U.S. campaign trail is littered with layers and layers of mis- and disinformation.
It's making it harder then to get people life-saving information.
Our political panel weighs how voters are sizing up Donald Trump's latest claims.
It's in moments like this we come together to take care of each other.
U.S. President Joe Biden in Florida today announcing plans to help those impacted by Hurricane Milton after a week of battling disinformation about the federal response.
Kamala spent all her FEMA money, billions of dollars, on housing for illegal migrants.
The false claims sowing distrust over government aid.
It's making it harder then to get people life-saving information.
And Election Day, remember, in the U.S. is now just over 3 weeks away. Let's bring in two people who are certainly following all of this very closely. Tia Mitchell, the Washington correspondent for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and Chris Cillizza is CNN's former editor-at-large. Chris, I'll start with you on this. Where do you see this kind of disinformation, these kinds of disinformation campaigns going in this final stretch of the race?
Nowhere good, honestly. I wish I had a more optimistic answer, but you know, if past is prologue, what you see in the final days and weeks of these campaigns is people throwing everything they can against the wall. To me, the really scary thing is not that politicians are saying this. Donald Trump lies more than any modern politician we've ever seen, but politicians exaggerate and shape the truth all the time. The concerning thing for me is the number of people in this country who believe what is being said, sort of, you know, facts not really mattering. That to me is the real worry.
Tia, before Hurricane Milton, as you know well, and so many people do, there was Hurricane Helene. It hit parts of Georgia very hard. It is a crucial swing state, and early voting begins this week for folks there. So what kind of impact do you see the storms and this kind of disinformation having on how voters there decide?
Yeah, so our election officials, which in Georgia are Republicans like Trump, they say the storm itself is going to have very little impact on the election, that they work to restore power. Only a handful of precincts might need to be moved. Maybe some people might have to come pick up their ballots, but for the most part, minimal impact on the election system. But the misinformation coming from former President Trump and those who are in his corner, that could affect the vote. You know, we've seen Trump continue to try to sow mistrust, distrust into the election system, and I think it should be pointed out he did the same thing after the 2020 election, and we think that contributed not only to his loss in 2020 in Georgia, but the loss of the 2 Senate seats in Georgia that came with runoffs in January 2021. So it's almost as if Trump might be, could be harming himself with some of this misinformation.
The Trump camp, as you both know, is also repeating the exaggerated, debunked claims about Venezuelan gangs in Colorado. That is certainly just a sliver of the anti-immigrant rhetoric coming from that camp. Chris, do you feel that the Democrats are doing what they need at this point to counter what Trump and his running mate are doing on this particular issue?
Well, you know, the old saying, and I'm paraphrasing, but, you know, a lie runs around the world before the truth gets out of the bed in the morning. That's the problem, right? Is it's really hard for the Harris campaign or the media or fact checkers or anyone else to combat how much stuff is being thrown out there. You know, I've gone through Donald Trump's speeches line by line for the better part of the last 18 months, and he's been saying a lot of things. People are coming up from Venezuela. People are coming from the Congo. They're coming from mental institutions. You know, I mean, this is the kind of stuff he's been sowing for a while. It's gotten worse in terms of how far he's willing to take it and sort of the darkness of the rhetoric. He's basically painting it as we're going to be in World War III and a Great Depression if he doesn't win. But I think it's so hard to combat because there's so much of it. And the truth is, there's a lot of people out there who'd rather believe that, even if it's false, because it comports more directly with how they view the country and the world. And I don't know what the Harris campaign or the media can do if people want to believe something that facts suggest is in fact false.
T, I know you were saying what Trump has been saying about the storm and misinformation on that front might hurt him in a state like Georgia, but you both may have seen the New York Times poll showing his stance on immigration. That rhetoric is not pushing Latino voters away. In fact, his popularity among the demographic has grown over the last 3 election cycles. T, I'll start with you. What do you attribute that to?
So what I found was interesting in that poll is when they asked Latino voters, both here legally or here without documentation, if they felt Trump was talking about them. And even undocumented immigrants, the majority said, no, but he's not talking about me. Trump has found a way to speak about mass deportations, illegal immigration, in ways that are so generalized that Latinos themselves feel like he is, many of them, not all, but many of them feel like Trump is actually on their side, championing them. And it's just part of the way he has shaped his message, particularly to Latino and Black men, about how immigration is actually hurting them, taking away their jobs, taking away their ability to have kind of prosperous lives in America. Again, it's not based on truth, it's based on lies and misinformation, but the poll shows that it's working.
Chris, let me get your thoughts on this before we let you both go.
Look, what you see in those numbers is, at least at the moment, Kamala Harris is pretty drastically underperforming where Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden were at this point in 2016 and 2020. Tia is exactly right. Trump has for months tried to target Black men and Latino men in particular. I mean, his famous line is, "What the hell do you have to lose?" That was always his message. Like, you know, the Democratic Party has not, they've relied on you for votes. They have not done much for you. I was not sure that would work. It's not working with the majority of African-American voters or the majority of Latino voters. But again, if he can win 15 to 18% of Latino and Black voters, that means Kamala Harris is going to have to win a significantly higher portion of white voters than Biden or Hillary Clinton did in order to win, right? We're talking about margins. This race is going to be close in swing states and nationally. So a few percentage points among a group that typically has heavily favored Democrats, both Black voters and Hispanic voters, that can make a difference.
Chris Cillizza, Tia Mitchell, thank you both.
Thank you.
Coming up, a big payoff for a big pumpkin. 1,470. We'll tell you just what it took to score that win. That's coming up next in our moment. If you are sitting down to Thanksgiving dinner this weekend, chances are pumpkin pie is on the menu. Well, on Prince Edward Island, one man is giving thanks for his prize-winning pumpkin. Mark Tremere won $750 for growing a pumpkin that could quite literally squash you, and a bit more for a giant squash. Tonight, his golden harvest is our moment.
1,473. I was pretty pumped about coming out with first prize in both the squash and the pumpkin. I didn't think those numbers were going to be that high with near 1,500 pounds on the pumpkin. Well, that's my personal best for sure. The color was good, the growth was great. It didn't pollinate early enough for me, so I might try some different seed next year. But I'm happy with this guy for sure. Never expect to win, but I was optimistic. I know my competition, but with the shape of pumpkins, and you never know what kind of weight they could come out at.
What do you win?
I think it was some 50 for the pumpkin, 250 for the squash, so it'll definitely pay for some fertilizer.
Just some fertilizer? This is what I've learned today. There is the Great Pumpkin Commonwealth, and Prince Edward Island has applied to be part of that Great Pumpkin Commonwealth. Congratulations to you, Mr. Tremere. Nice to be with all of you tonight. Remember, you can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app, and you can subscribe to the National's YouTube channel. I'm Neil Köksal. Adrian is back here for you tomorrow night, and you will hear me back on As It Happens, along with Chris Howden this week. Take care.